my name is Bernardette Holmes. I would find it difficult to pigeonhole my career at the current time because it is very broad. So I started out as a teacher of languages and rapidly became a head of department in a secondary school, quite a challenging secondary school. And from there were all kinds of invitations to engage with other teachers, other professionals, to distill what it is that makes a successful language learner, and equally how to support the development of successful language teachers. Because at the time, many young people, as they do now, did not always see the relevance of learning another language apart from English, and we were trying to take languages out to all learners, all social backgrounds, all abilities. So it became Languages for All as a policy across the country. So I worked then as a teacher and then an advisor, developing techniques and strategies to encourage young people to learn languages and to help teachers become innovative in the way they developed language pedagogy in the schools, which were often challenging places for language learners and language teachers. From there, I researched. I became an active researcher and looking at how languages are acquired, how languages could be developed and assessed communicatively, how the target language could be used as a medium of instruction, and a medium of instruction in content and language integrated learning, which is something that took my research more broadly into international areas and international arenas. And the CLIL approach, the content and language integrated learning approach, has been developing and is very strongly developed in many countries across the world, particularly in Asia and in some of the European countries, continental European countries, very often taught through the medium of English. For the English teacher, of course, it would be taught through the medium, the subject matter would be taught through the medium of German or French or Spanish in most cases. So I became an advisor and researcher in that way, and was here in Cambridge developing methodology at one stage. And then from that point, I also worked in a local authority, working with teachers in primary and secondary schools and in further education. I then became an advisor at national level and worked at the Centre for Information on Language Teaching and Research, CILT, as it was then, and at a very exciting time, an historical moment, if you like, in the history of languages in England, and that was at the introduction of the national curriculum, and in 1997, at the time of the election when Tony Blair and the Labour government took over the administration, there came to be a policy for the national languages strategy, and this was developed over their tenure, and I was very actively involved in developing that strategy with primary and secondary schools and also with higher education, and we looked there to really extend opportunities for all learners. And then following that, I then became involved in teacher training and teacher development of standards, if you like, to ensure that the standards that all children received were equitable. And so we looked at the Qualified to Teach standards, and I worked with an organisation then, a near-to-government organisation called the Teacher Development Agency, or the Teacher Training Agency. It changed names once or twice during that period of time, and I was actively involved in developing young teachers and teacher recruits. We've always been short of language teachers and science teachers in this country, and so part of my work then was to work internationally with our cultural partners to encourage French and German and Spanish teachers to come here to England to teach our young people. And following that, I've become a policy advisor. I've been helping government recently to develop the new curriculum, the reformed curriculum. So that was under the coalition government and under our current administration. So we're looking there to introduce for the first time statutory languages to primary schools. So from the age of 7, every young person will learn a language in this country. and also to develop the curriculum for Key Stage 3, which for our country is age 11 to 14, and for the GCSE and A levels, so that's Key Stage 4, so that's 14 to 16, and then on from 16 to 18, 19, the school leaving age. So very much involved in English language policy, but equally very interested in working with our European partners and partners across the world in other countries. And I have worked profiling language policy with the Council of Europe and looked at Aosta, the Val d'Ost, and their excellent language policies, which have Italian and French as the two languages which are used as media for instruction in their schools, which is extremely innovative. And I've worked also in Hong Kong, developing English for academic purposes with some young people, young students there. So I do feel I've got an international understanding, if you like, of the way language is central to 21st century education.